Hello, I'm back again for another update as I continue this hike on the Allegheny Trail here. This again is a portion that's north of the Raptor Observatory in Section 4. Beyond where the road walk begins, the Allegheny Trail does continue northbound from the observatory to the Laurel branch trailhead. And this is a portion of the trail between the Laurel branch trailhead and the Raptor Observatory that I'm on today. And this is not really used much, not much of a trail, at least right in this spot here, other than just markings. I'm heading northbound. I've turned around because according to my GPS I still have 3.5 miles to the observatory from here, and it's already 3:30, and it's probably 4 or 5 miles back to where I parked on the Laurel Branch trailhead. As you can see, on the Allegheny Trail, one of the things that's unique is they use, for their blazes, they use sheet metal, looks like, and actually on the newer ones, they have Allegheny Trail engraved in the metal. And they nail it into the trees, and that's their newest form of markings, it looks like. I don't see any other trail that's ever done that. So if I'm going to do a through hike, this may be one of the first trails I attempt a through hike on. It is over 300 miles long. It would be an ideal trail to start on for a through hike for me, because again it ends so close to my house that if I started at the Mason-Dixon line, worked my way south, I'd be walking toward home every day. And the last 50 miles of the trail would be within an hour's drive of my house. There's a little bit of a trick turn right here in the trail. It bears left in this direction. So what I'm going to talk about today, I believe it is September 8th, Sunday. It's Sunday, I think it's September 8th. Again, the lull in the hurricane activity that we've had lately, is it just a lull? Is the season over? Only applying the ointment in my forecast of the season being over is the sun. We are in a solar max. It's still possible the sun could put out some flares in time to stir up another storm or two. Before the season's over. Because reason why I'm saying that, update on solar cycle 25 is the cosmic ray count has suddenly dropped down to minus 8% in the last couple days. And there hasn't even been a major solar storm or anything. It just dropped off, and it remains to be seen if that trend is going to last, or it's going to bounce back up again in the ray count. It's down to 56, below 5,700. Now, it's leveled off now around that amount. It doesn't seem to be bouncing back up just yet. So it must have been some sort of CME that came in and knocked it down a couple days ago, and it's just not coming back up right away. And that's the reason, that's the fly in the ointment. We don't know what the sun is exactly going to do. If we were in a solar minimum right now in the 11-year cycle, I'd say, yeah, the season's definitely over. But can't say 100% because, again, we don't know what impact this sudden drop in the cosmic ray count is going to have on the weather patterns in the next week or two. And whether it will be enough to stir up, an increase in the heating of the atmosphere, maybe, or even water surface could be enough to where they might get the motor going on a storm or two. Now, they are trying very hard in the Gulf right now to get that system going. I mean, I've seen the infrared images I looked at this morning and yesterday. They're giving that system in the Gulf everything in their arsenal to try to get it going. I mean, I've even seen black on the image. I've seen even white, which is extreme. And they are firing energy like crazy at that system in the Bay of Campeche to try to get it to develop into something. It's definitely not natural to have convection like that out of nowhere. And you can even see it's being done intelligently, because if you look carefully along the outer edges, there's additional convection. They're trying to enhance the outflow so that the system develops into at least a tropical storm. They are desperate to get something going. Right now, they're pretty much their only hope. And they are giving it everything they've got to try to get the system. But as I've said, the Gulf is tapped out, and the more they try to get a system going, the more additional heat it's going to take out of the water. Even if a storm doesn't develop, all this convection there is going to remove yet additional heat from the water, make it even harder to get a storm beyond this point. If they fail to produce one, it's going to be even harder now, because of all that convection over the Gulf for the past 2 to 3 weeks, and that system has taken a considerable amount of heat out of that water. Even though it hasn't been a tropical storm, it's still taking heat out if there's convection there. In the eastern Atlantic, there are a couple weak disturbances that, again, they're trying to shooting anywhere in the cloud mass they can, hoping one of the spots will develop into an area of convection organized. And so far, they've been not successful doing that. It's just a big cloud mass with scattered showers and thunderstorms. And again, what that is doing, it's continuing to take heat out of that water, even though it's not an actual tropical storm. It's a broad area of clouds, showers, rain it's going to prevent the heat from getting in that water that's needed to produce storms in the future. So they are getting pretty desperate. We're getting into the middle of September, and it's still a blank slate on storms right now. Yeah, like I say, the most promising for them would be the system in the Gulf. But again, if this doesn't develop into anything, it's going to be hard pressed after this to get anything else in the Gulf, because this system is taking a lot of heat out. they're throwing so much energy in, and I'm seeing white on the infrared images, which is extreme. It's extreme convection to produce that. And yet still nothing is developing. In the past, when they did that, they were successful in the Gulf. Like back in 2021, it's not working now because the Gulf they're out of fuel. The bank account is empty for the Gulf. There's no more heat left. So there's another tricky turn in the trail coming up. It could be very easy to say it still keeps going straight, but it does not go straight from here. You could even see the arrow on that tree pointing you to the left. That was done in paint. And the arrow on the other side pointing this way. It's a very, very tricky turn right here in the trail. It goes to the left and starts climbing back up again. Yeah, again, here it's not really much of a defined trail. Very easy to lose it. So am I saying that the hurricane season is over? I can't say 100% that it is, but it's not going to get super active either. It could be over. Depends on what the sun does between now and November. If you are in a solar max, and again, we're pretty much at the pinnacle of this cycle in solar activity. Southern hemisphere is remaining pretty active. The northern hemisphere, though, lately, of the sun appears to be declining in sunspots. So it's possible what we saw in sunspot numbers in August could be the pinnacle, because the northern hemisphere now is starting to taper off with sunspots, and most of the activity now is south of the equator on the sun. So that could be a sign that we're heading over the pinnacle. Hard to say, though. But since both hemispheres fired up pretty close this time around, if the northern hemisphere is starting to drop off, it's quite likely that in the next 6 months the southern hemisphere will follow suit, and we'll start to see a drop in activity. But that's just conjecture. And look at this old oil can. So pretty much, I feel that we're probably the most going to get maybe 1 or 2 more storms this season. I know last video I said it's over, but I wasn't anticipating the drop in the cosmic ray count. That has me a little concerned that it's still possible the sun could pull another period of high activity before we get over the pinnacle here. I'm not saying it will. If that happens, it could pull off another couple more, 1 or 2 more storms maybe before the middle of October. But I don't feel it. I feel at most there may be 1 or 2 more systems this year. I do not feel it's going to suddenly get totally busy. The heat budget for the oceans is about exhausted. And I think we're close to the threshold. If not over it, we're close to where the heat budget is so exhausted, they're not even going to be able to artificially get storms to develop anymore. But we shall see on that. I can't say for sure we've reached that point. So that is going to be it. I'm going to continue my hike back to the Laurel Branch trailhead, which is about 10 to 15 minute drive from my house. And part of it is coming off the mountain. It's a very gentle descent down a gravel road to the trailhead where I'm parked. I mean, the road is drivable with a regular vehicle. And there's even a spot where a car could park where the trail, my last video, comes off it. But I decided to walk all the way up from the bottom. I really didn't want to drive up the road. It's a pretty rough road. That is going to be